The building across the street, which is now the Legendary Palace, I believe it was built in the early 1900s by a Caucasian man who happened to like Asian architecture. Many of the materials used within that building are what I call knockoffs, not the real McCoy. For example, the tile rooftop is not made out of clay like true clay tiles in China. Instead, it's made out of tin. We didn't realize this until we started remodeling it and found out that they had materials made out of tin, and we could not replace it with clay tiles because of the weight. It did not have the substructure to support the weight, and we had to search the country, and I believe it was South Carolina that we found a place where they made fiberglass tiles. And so we put lightweight fiberglass tiles on. But because of the problems we had at the city, they only made one color, which was red. And the city insisted that we put up yellow tile. And that's another story about the coloring. And then we faced a problem of painting the red fiberglass tiles to a yellow color, and it was very, very difficult to find a special epoxy type paint that would adhere to plastic or fiberglass. These things just boggle the mind. Okay. In addition to, let me backtrack and go back to after the building was built in the 40s. It housed the famous Club Shangri-La during the early years of World War II, or shortly thereafter. Asian nightclubs or Chinese nightclubs were coming into existence. The other thing that's interesting about that building is because it's the only major structure with Chinese architecture, and the city wanted to make it a landmark, and we thought that was a great thing because you get tax benefits. And then when we found out that the tax benefit does not outweigh the restrictions they put on you, what you could do to the building, because you could build a building bigger, taller, etc. So it was voted in, we appealed it, and ultimately we won. And then 5-10 years later, when we started remodeling it for Legendary Palace, they came back and fought us again about what we should do, because our architect, Henry Chang, said we have a useless balcony, it's decaying and falling apart. Why don't we modernize the building by eliminating it, and we'll save $100,000, etc. And when we submitted the plans to the city, the Heritage Alliance found out about it. They came screaming to us, no, you can't do this, we want to preserve it, we want to have it renominated for a landmark. And ultimately, I was able to convince them on certain aspects by trading. Like the windows we wanted out of aluminum because of efficiency, cost, insulation, solar, and all that. And the wood trim, they wanted back original wood trim. And I told them that we painted the same color as aluminum windows, or painted aluminum windows wood color. You could not tell the difference. They argued with me, and I invited whoever was in charge to come down here to stand across the street and tell me if you can tell the difference. I was shocked when 5 people showed up. And I just said, look across there, can you tell if that's wood or aluminum or the material it's made out of? No, they agree with me. And I said, what if I just make it look the same? Okay? If you look at the Legendary Palace, the upper layer has a grill. Is it like a grill, a fancy woodwork? And I actually had a company in Union City take pictures of it, and they machine it out of aluminum and just stuck it up there and painted it, and it looks identical, and nobody knows the difference. And it's actually better. So it felt good to win that round. And then finally, when it came to painting the building, they had the nerve to tell the owners what color to paint the building. And I couldn't believe that the colors they didn't like, because they asked me, I said, well, I want typical Chinese colors. What is that? Red, yellow, green, black. And they thought it was just too garish. They just thought I was out of the times. I said, this is a Chinese building, it should have Chinese colors. And ultimately, the city said, we'll give you $20,000 if you let us pick the colors. So they hired a colorist, and that's the final proposal you see on this wall here, and we went along with it because we felt that it was something we could live with. Yes, it's updated. Yes, it looks nice. And yes, even though we were going to use the traditional Chinese colors, we were not going to use the bright reds or the bright yellows. I didn't tell them that initially. I knew that if I started that way, we would compromise, hopefully, to what we wanted. So Legendary Palace has been there 4 years, and this November will be 5 years. They're quite successful. I expect them to be there for at least another 5 years.